Well, hello to you, wherever you're watching this video around the world. I just wanted to share with you a small little message. And this message is for Black people, but I think people who are not Black can also learn something from it. And what I want to talk about very briefly, very openly, and very truthfully is that there's a direct link between today's religions and the secret system of the world, the secret architecture, the system that stops Black people, or that has historically even stopped Black people from prospering and even enslaved Black people. All the religions of the world today are not free agents. They conform to this system as well. Not a single one of them has been exempt from the system, from conforming to the system. So whether you're in Islam, whether you're in Christianity, whether you're in Judaism, Hinduism, all these religions that are organized into a system, they are linked to the economic side of things as well. Okay. So if you're saying I'm leaving Christianity because of racism, I'm going to Judaism, you're going to find racism. If you leave Christianity and say I'm going to Islam as a Black person, you're going to find racism, probably an even worse racism. If you want to go to any other religion as a Black person, you are going to find racism because all these religions have been organized and made subject to the same system that determines our economic and social opportunities. I won't mention its name, but you know it. It's a secret one, secret organization. It's worldwide. It makes people free, apparently. So if you're a Black person and you want the same equal opportunities as people who are white, you join this organization and they'll pimp you, man. They will pimp you sticking in South Africa, broken. Anyways, that's what they do. Their motto says we take good men and make them excellent men, right? Otherwise, we Black people are relegated to suffering and being subjected to all kinds of prejudices and injustices. And when we try to do business, we are stopped or limited or even taken advantage of because we don't belong to certain things. But I'm here to talk about religion, okay? Because I'm a religion, I major in religion in university, okay? That's like the study of my life, religion. And I started my study of religion as a Christian 5 years ago. And 5 years later, I'm not in Christianity. I am walking towards Judaism this year. I should finalize my conversion to Judaism. But it doesn't mean that I stop being Black or I stop having these disadvantages that Black people have gone through all over the years. You find racist people everywhere. Everywhere in the world, there's racist people looking to pick on Black people. And the strength of Black people is not sitting and crying over racism and the injustices. The best thing about us is to be able to survive and thrive in that same system, in those same circumstances. And the best possible outcome is not for us to look back to Pan-Africanism as an answer to the way the world has treated us, because I promise you, in Pan-Africanist mentality, there's racism and there's slavery there too, because you must remember, slavery is not something that was invented by the Europeans. Slavery was invented by Black people in the land of Iraq. In those days, it was called Babylon, and the chief Black person who was the king of the whole world, his name was Nimrod. Okay, so if you travel around the world and you see in cities, there are these standing monuments like this. They call them obelisks. They are made of cement. Those obelisks are a symbol of Nimrod's manhood, right? So wherever you go around the world and you ask people, what are Black people famous for? Black people are not famous for the things that we see in the world, all the uh, inventions of the world, but Black people, especially men, they're famous for having a big member, right? Big member. And it's the same member, the same obelisk that's all over the world because idolaters, those who worship the sun and the moon and the stars and everything, ultimately, they also worship the phallus, which is manhood. All right. So Nimrod, the remnant of Nimrod's teachings or existence is that obelisk all over the world. And so black people, when they enslave us and put us in chains in the last 500 years, and then they create this supreme architecture in the world that makes sure that we don't get education, business opportunities, money, wealth, and all those things, and that we get overtaxed, etc. Those people have the knowledge that black people invented slavery. Nimrod enslaved Gomer, the children of Gomer, not Gomer himself, the children of Gomer. Now, there was a guy named Noah, or Noah in English. Noah, after God had destroyed the world with the flood, he had three sons, actually. Yeah. Ham, Shem, and Japhet. The children of Japhet, two or three generations into Japhet's offspring, there's a guy named Gomer, and Gomer has an interesting occurrence because even though people were black and brown to begin with, there's a mutation of the genes, and Gomer gives birth to white people, whom we call Caucasians today. Caucasians. The Ark rested on Mount Ararat. If you search around the world, you look for Noah's Ark. The only place you'll find a mountain of Ararat or Mount Ararat is just in and around the Caucasus. Okay. So, anyways, fast forward to Nimrod's time, and Nimrod is there enslaving the children of Gomer, which are the children of Japhet, one of the brothers. And he becomes king all over the world. If you know Nimrod, out of the three brothers, his father was Ham. Ham is the father, or Ham, they call him in English. Ham is the father of the black people. Okay. Shem was also black, but a little bit different. Maybe brown, we could call him. But there were black people in Shem's court, because if you look at the origins of Iraq, you'll find black people. So, anyways, Nimrod enslaves these white people, parades them around, and makes them his trophies because they look different. The irony of all ironies is that we invented slavery and we invented the idea of owning another person. I'm not saying that transatlantic slavery was a revenge of those days of Caucasians being slaves to Nimrod, but slavery became a culture in Africa because of Babylon, because of black people, because of Nimrod. In Africa, it is culture to enslave people. As much as we do not want to admit, we do and we did enslave people. To this day, it's Africans selling other Africans through Libya to the Middle East and to other places, to Italy, to go pick tomatoes and things. And the slavery is alive and well in this continent. It always has been. It's even in our culture. Sometimes in our cultures, depending where you go around the African continent, a man did not ask a woman for marriage. He would leave his village, run to another village, grab a woman, put her over his shoulder, and run home with her. That's his wife. Those people now have no way of reclaiming that woman, and he will not pay dowry for her even. That's slavery. It's a form of slavery. In our culture, traditionally, women do all the work. The men sit under a tree and do absolute F all. The women are working the fields. The women are preparing food. The woman, she has a husband to take care of, children to take care of, and she still has to go and take care of her in-laws because her in-laws see her as an indentured slave and not as a free woman. She's not free to do whatever she wants. This whole idea of umakoti is a form of brilliant slavery. It's not marriage, it's slavery, because she has to go and work for the in-laws. And if the man is not interested in her or thinks that she's too busy, he goes and finds himself another wife. So he has a wife that he sleeps with. He's got a wife that does all the slave work. He's got a wife that does something else. So slavery is in our existence, in our culture. We cannot blame anybody for that except our ancestors. Nimrod, he created it. And we practiced it right through the millennia. But when the white people started to do slavery, their slavery was a bit different. We created the monster. They put mag wheels and 9-inch tires on that monster to make it look good. They put nos in it and made the monster appear vicious. Slavery in the Bible were people that you acquired, for example. I'm not talking about Nimrod now, biblically. People you acquired either through conquest, war, and they become your booty, your spoils, or if a people group has no economic opportunities and they approach the people that have economic power and say, well, we'll work for you in exchange of wages. The biblical slave got wages, which is a salary. They got a promise of being set free after so many years. They inherited land and they inherited property, they inherited things. When you sent your slave away biblically, you didn't send them off poor, like in the United States when the black people were set free, they were not set free. They were set free in order to go into a trap of self-enslavement because they didn't have access to the economic markets. And so in the Bible, when you send away a slave, you send them with something. You send them with money and provision. You were not allowed, by God did not allow you to send off your slave with nothing. The slavery or pre-transatlantic slavery, we get an idea of Moors enslaving black people, and then the same black people and Moors are selling black people to Europeans to be taken to the Americas. So slavery is an African thing. You can try to deny it. You can try to politicize what I'm saying, but the fact is slavery is an African invention. Was it justice for black people to be enslaved in the Americas? The answer is no. Because if the Europeans wanted to enslave people, then they should have been prepared to pay reparations. In my opinion, whether you're an African or a European, the idea of owning someone, to me, is just sinful. If you're gonna own excuse me, if you're gonna own people, to me that's arrogance, extreme arrogance. But God allowed it for people to own people, but not without compensation, not without reparations. And the slave was not to be abused. The biblical slave was not to be abused. He had health insurance. What do I mean by health insurance? If the biblical slave, you treated him harshly and you beat him up, like they did in America, the Europeans, like they did in America, in cutting the feet and the hands of slaves, gagging them, doing all sorts of things, hurting them. The biblical slave, if he was hurt, then the law would apply that is an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. An eye and an eye, tooth for a tooth does not imply anything to do with revenge. The Europeans interpreted that Hebrew law or Jewish law very wrong, that biblical law in a very wrong way. It's got nothing to do with revenge. It's got to do with health insurance. When you treat your slave badly and you harm him and you take his eye out, you gouge his eye out, you must pay that slave or that person pension. You owe them pension. Whatever amount of money they were going to earn from you during their lifetime, you must not pay to them because they are forced to retire because you physically harm them. They cannot work anymore. You break a man's tooth, whatever cost it would take to repair it and fix it, you must pay from your own pocket. But enslaving Christian America did not do that. They owe a lot of black people a lot of money, according to the Bible. So, as a black person, going back to my original rant, it doesn't matter what religion you choose. You're going to have racism. It's going to be very bad for you. If you travel, you're going to experience racism. If you go live in another country, you emigrate, you're going to experience racism because this world has been built on singling you out religiously and economically and socially so that you are never comfortable and you never feel like you belong anywhere. I personally take this as a blessing, not as a curse, because you'll be amazed what God will do for Black people who invented slavery. But now God sees that, hold on, the slavery that they've been subjected to breaks my laws as God. And so when God compensates a Black person, it's an amazing compensation. A compensation in this life that we're living today and in the life that we will live in the world to come. In heaven, which is actually biblically called the world to come, Olam Haba, there will be a lot of Black people. There will be a lot of Black people because the world owes so much to Black people. Because it has used us, it has abused us without compensation. That God will compensate us not only in this world, but in the world to come. Here's what I'm saying. As a Black person, you go to Islam, you're going to find racism. You're going to go to Judaism, you're going to find racism. You go to Christianity, you're going to find racism. You go into Eastern religions, you're going to find racism. As a Black person, do not look for a religion, okay? Don't look for a religion, number one. Number two, don't look for a master. You already have a master. Your master is God. Look at the Bible, look for God's law, live God's law, adopt God's law, make it your law. That way you become God's person. You enter into a covenant with God. That will immediately take you into the Jewish world. And when you get to the Jewish world, no worries about racism, man. Be strong and know that you are beginning to receive your compensation. And you don't have to be even Jewish. You don't even have to be Jewish. As long as you do God's law, you do what God says in the Bible, you have made yourself God's person. From the nations, you are coming close to the law. When you come close to the law, you will come close to Jewish people. Some will love you. Some will spit at you. Some will regret that they left the gate open for people like you to come in to the Jewish world. But the Jewish world is not owned by the Jewish people. The Jewish world is not a religion, it's a kingdom. The God above chose the Jewish world to establish his kingdom on in order to establish the coming world. So the coming world, Olam Haba, and its kingdom is established on the Jewish world. So as a Jew, as a Black person, if you hate the Jewish people and you side with the enemies of Israel, as a Black person, you are canceling yourself out from the reparations of slavery and oppression. All that suffering of racism and oppression and all of those things that the architecture of this world has put in place, it will affect you. It will stop you from becoming fruitful and blessed in this world, in your own business, in your own family, in your own life. Don't let the people against Israel stop you from getting your reparations. Don't come to the Jewish side of things, the kingdom, because you want the money or you want the blessings of God. Don't do it like that. Do it because you're looking for God. Because remember what I said, as a Black person, you will find racism everywhere. So you have to choose as a Black person. Choose carefully if you want the reparations for slavery or not. You're not going to get the reparations from Jewish people. You're going to get them from God. You're not going to get financial favor from Jewish people. You're going to get it from God. Because out of all these religions that are affiliated to this evil system of the world, there's still hope. God is still the one that's in the center of Judaism. God is the reason for Judaism. And so I'm not promoting a religion, I'm not promoting a people or a nation. I'm just saying to you, with all that's going around in the world, and our Black people teaching other Black people to support organizations that are against the land of Israel, that are against the fate of the people of Israel, which is biblical. Their fate is biblical. There is nothing that we can change, that we can do to change the fate of the Jewish people. Safest place as a Black person is in God's law. And God's law will bring you automatically to the Jewish world. Don't look at the racism. Don't look at the Jewish people. Smile and wave. Look at God's law. Dedicate yourself to God. Dedicate yourself to his law. Love the land of Israel. Love the Jewish people. Even if they spit at you, love the Jewish people. Because in so doing, you'll be fulfilling God's desire for Black people. And that is restorations and reparations, paid in the form of the world to come, a better life. On this earth, there's nothing that's ours. Europeans have taken everything for themselves, that they've relegated us to slavery and slave roles. But in the world to come, man, there's going to be one big Harlem, isn't it? There's going to be one big Africa, one big, one big Africa. I tell you, and I promise you that, right? So don't feel like you have to do what other people, Black people are doing. Don't listen to those messages. Think about where you are going. Don't think about where you are. Our politicians are drunk. Promise you, all our Black politicians around the world are drunk. They're drunk with the wine of the system. The system is making them drink so much. And the system wants them to betray the Black people. Don't be one of those Black people betrayed by religion or systems. Find God, find his law, and get your reparations, get your restoration, get your freedom. That's the only way you're going to get your freedom. One last thing. The people that have created the system that makes sure that we do not prosper as Black people, those people and those who benefit currently from that system, they have no part, no share in the kingdom to come. In the world to come, they have no share. And that's because they have taken all the benefits of life, all the benefits that are good to the physical flesh. They have consumed them in this world, and they have nothing to hope for in the world to come. Do not envy Europe. Do not envy the advantages of the European people. Do not envy their ability to do business and to have these wonderful lives in big houses at the cost of the oppressed. Do not envy these things, because you have a place in the world to come. And remember this, if you come close to God's law, you're going to have your reparations and restoration in this world first. You're going to be a Black, prosperous person in this world first, before you even go to the world to come, because God has promised that not only to the Jewish people or Israelite people, but he has promised it to every man and every woman in the world. God's desire is that every man and every woman in the world, regardless of whether Abraham or Jacob is your father, regardless, that you come and know God, your creator. The freedom and prosperity and dignity of Black people is in God's law. And so when you come close to God, people are going to tell you, you're not supposed to be here. You're the wrong color. You're not supposed to be here. You're nobody. You're a monkey. You're this, you are that. Don't take those things to heart, my man. Don't take those things to heart. Because those very people have no hope for the world to come. When they die, they are finished, they're gone. And they will pay for their sins in Sheol. They will pay in hell for their sins. But you, Black person, you are destined for success now, and you are also guaranteed the world to come. Get to know God. Don't get your hands filthy with the hate of the Jewish people and the hate of the nation of Israel. Don't suffer so much in this world that did not want to include you in its benefits and economies. Don't forfeit good things now and forfeit good things tomorrow. Be smart. Come close to God. Don't let this be a stumbling block. It's your blessing. It's who you are. In the country of Israel today, black people, black Jews are called Kushim. And to be called Kushi in Israel is an insult, according to the European mindset. But us black Israelites, we understand that Cush is part of that kingdom because Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, the great teacher of Judaism, when he ran away from Egypt, he ran away from Pharaoh, he came to the land of Ethiopia. He came to the black people in Midian because Saudi Arabia was not called Saudi Arabia back then. It was all part of Ethiopia, all the way up to the Euphrates River. It was Ethiopia. He came to the Kushim, the black people, Moshe Rabbeinu, whose father was not Ham, like us. His father was Shem. He comes from the lineage of Shem. He's a Semitic man. Yet he left Egypt and became the king of the Cushites for 40 years. Moshe Rabbeinu, in his absence, Moses in his absence in Egypt, he was in Africa. And he taught the Africans, children of Ham, the ways of the Lord, the ways of God. That's why black people, wherever you enslave black people, whether in Australia, whether in North America, South America, even if you enslave black people in their own Africa, black people will always love God, and their love for God will always be expressed by their interest in Judaism, in Christianity, or even Islam. There's three religions, lots of black people, right? Because we have an innate nature to love God, because Moses, the teacher of the Israelites and the leader of the Israelites, he was our king for 40 years in his absence in Egypt. Because you must remember, Moses killed an Egyptian, and the word went around that he killed an Egyptian, so the Pharaoh wanted to kill him, so he ran away to Africa, to Ethiopia. And he became the king because you must remember the Egyptians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites, Egyptians, Libyans, and Ethiopians, which are the Kushim. Well, the Ethiopians don't believe they are Kushim. They have a different way of thinking about themselves, but they are Kushim. You're part of Kush. Those four nations, Ethiopia, Libya, and Egypt, and Canaan, which is where all the Mitanni and all the other Hittites and whatever eventually come from. Those are all black people, right? All come from the same father, same stock. So if people are going to call you a Kushi or Kushim, personally, that is a compliment. It's not an insult. And those who want to use our appearance to be an insult or to incentivize the idea of an insult, they're in for a rude awakening, because blackness is about to become popular. Wherever you look, blackness is about to become popular. In the world to come, you'll see a lot of black people. That I guarantee you. So I'm not saying this from a place of pride. I'm saying it to you because I don't want you to get to a point where you are losing out everywhere. You're losing. There is a day of restoration. There is a day of reparation. Bless the Jewish people. Bless the land of Israel. Bless and not curse. Come close to the God of Israel, because he's your creator after all, whether you're Jewish or not, whether you're Muslim or Christian, whatever, you're created by the same God. Just do not support those who hate the idea of Israel. Do not miss out. That's my message. Don't miss out. It's about to get very, very cool, and it's about to become a big blessing to be black, both in this world, in its finality, and in the commencement of the world to come. My last message, don't be racist. A lot of black people, because what we've gone through, we've become racist. Don't become racist. Don't look at people and judge them by their skin color. Look at the soul of the person, right? Look at the soul. That's where the person is inside, not on the outside.